All right, now we're recording. So, Nate, why don't you start by telling us why you agreed to do this video today?
I agreed to do this video because trans advocacy is so important for me. Ever since I came out, just so many people have started to come to me and ask me for advice and, ask me to share my story, and it's helping, such and such's cousin who just came out, or such and such's sister who just came out. So it's like, the more that I help people, I feel like I'm enriching my own life and I'm kind of leaving a mark.
Okay, how old are you and Nate, and when did you first think that there was something different about you?
I just turned 23. I knew, I always knew. I had this weird cognitive thing where, I grew up with two sisters. I have a brother, but he didn't live with us. So I was never around boys. I never, up until a certain age, I was never really around boys. But I knew that I wasn't the same as my sisters. There was something in me that was like, I played with them and I played the games that they played, but I would always, okay, I'll be the dad or I'll be the brother, And it was just, they kind of just rolled with it. I don't think anybody thought anything of it. And, getting older, I hated when my mom put me in dresses. Not that that's, something biological, but at that age, I started to realize that I feel like a boy, so I'm going to behave in ways that are socially acceptable for boys to behave. So I started to kind of push away from the Barbies, push away from, the ponies, and just kind of be like, I want Hot Wheels cars, and I want, action figures, and, I started to hang out with, I have two boy cousins who are the same age as I am. So, we were always together and just kind of rolling around being guys together, and it wasn't until puberty that it just kind of hit me that, I wasn't the same as them, and it really kind of damaged my psyche. I started to see, myself developing, I was getting my period, and it was just like, I was so depressed about it. I was just like, the day that my mom pulled me aside and was like, okay, you have to wear a training bra was the worst day of my life. I was so heartbroken. I started to get older, I was thinking, well, like, I'm probably just a lesbian. Like, I'm attracted to women. And, I started to just kind of act out in that way of, like, expressing my attraction toward girls. And I was kind of okay with that for a while until I got into a serious relationship. And then I was just kind of like, this isn't gelling. I don't feel like a woman who's attracted to women. I feel like there's something different about me. And she was becoming more and more aware of kind of these tantrums that I would throw about, would be like, I hate my body. And
something that I hear in your story is, I think that people are surprised at the reaction that they get when they do first tell somebody, that there is support out there, because all the young people that I've worked with going through this, they just couldn't fathom that somebody would respond positively or to even respond neutrally, like, oh, okay, and those people do exist. But I also hear you talking about being on the internet and having sort of a presence on the internet, and I think maybe it would be good for you to talk about how to deal with people who aren't so supportive, because the internet can be full of some really toxic people if you're going to be out there, being yourself on a public forum.
One thing that I always tell my friends when they first come out, and they're freaking out, oh my god, I told my parents, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm just relax. The hardest part is over. I always say the worst part about coming out is the second before you do it, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to do this, and you're thinking, how do I say it in a way that they're not going to hate me, and it's like, the worst is over. Just take a step back, let it soak in. The same way that it took me 20 years to finally come out and accept it, it's going to take my parents some time, and it's going to take my friends some time.
That's great, Nate. What's the toughest thing you've encountered so far?
I think, my oldest sister has been a challenge for me. We were never that close growing up. She's quite a few years older than me. So, every time that she had, like, some kind of problem, she would go to my older sister because they were closer in age. They would be more considered peers. So we were never that close, and when I had finally come out to her a little while, it was like, I think a few days before my 22nd birthday, I was so sure that that was going to be the starting point of the relationship. And I told her that, I was like, I'm telling you this so we can start to build something from here. And, at first she was like, yeah, I'm your sister. I'm always going to be your sister. That's, and no matter what happens, this is who we are. And, a few days later, she had sent me a message just kind of taking back everything that she had said and saying, I really can't see myself doing this, and I can't see myself calling you Nathan or calling you he. And as much as it hurt me, I just messaged her back and I said, that's okay, you don't have to call me Nathan, but I don't answer to anything else. And that's the way it has to be. And
You mentioned, how hard it is around people that aren't your family or that don't know you. So do you have any advice or stories about navigating sort of these outside of family spaces, right? Like teachers or bosses or doctors or anything that might be hard for somebody who's starting out on this process?
I think the number one thing to keep in mind is that it's not going to go perfectly the first time something happens. I was so used to kind of smooth sailing through things that I was like, people are accepting me, this is great. And then the minute somebody would say something that's even a little bit transphobic, I was like a deer in the headlights. I was like, I'm so good at advocating for other people, and when somebody says something to me, I'm just kind of like, oh my god, okay, and just kind of bow out, and 10 minutes later be like, why didn't I say this, and I had a guy come up to me one time that told me, I don't want you to think you pass all the time because you don't. And I was like, I don't even know you, and he had seen me speak at a transgender event, and that's how he knew that I was transgender. And he even told me, like, now you look a little bit more guyish because you have a sweater on, you can't see your chest. And I was like, I was shocked, and he's just talking and talking, and I'm just kind of nodding my head and not saying anything. And when he walked away, I went to my friends and I was like, am I crazy for feeling really offended right now? And I told my girlfriend, and she was like, why didn't you say anything? And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I felt so just naked. Like, I was just like, okay, and I really didn't stand up for myself. But, it's because that was the first time that had ever happened to me, and it just takes that to start to build your skin up a little bit thicker and be like, okay, well, now that it's happened, now that I've gotten over the shock that not everybody gets it, that not everybody accepts me, I can kind of say what I need to say the next time that somebody says something, and you can just kind of, gently say, I'm not comfortable with the way that you're talking to me, or, just gentle but assertive. I've just kind of gotten to the point as far as, like going to doctor's appointments, seeing new teachers, that I just tell them up front, like I was looking, since I started testosterone, I've been breaking out really bad, which is normal. So I was just calling dermatologists, and they would answer the phone, and I would be like, hi, I'm looking to come in, just clear my skin. Do you work with transgender patients or not? And they would say no. I'd say, okay, thank you very much. Hang up, try the next person. It's easier to do over the phone because you're not face-to-face with them. They have no idea who you are. So that's an easier way to go about things, too. Because, a lot of times there's not just somebody you can ask and say, like, do you have a doctor that works, with transgender people? A lot of people have no idea what you're talking about, but...
Can you talk a little bit about transitioning and what you've gone through so far in transitioning and what you expect to go through?
So far, I've been on testosterone for 9 months. It was something that I never thought I would reach. I would, when I first kind of came out to myself and I came out to my girlfriend, I did the typical, like, I'm going to YouTube all these trans guys that are saying, like, this is my voice 6 months on T, and I would just be like, oh my god, I want to be there, but, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know if I can afford it. I don't, there was just so much that I was not sure about. It was, I think I called every endocrinologist in New Jersey, just trying to find somebody that worked with me that I felt comfortable with. And it was definitely something I thought it was a pipe dream, and I wake up now and I'm like, oh my god, it's been 9 months, I did it, I'm doing it. And it was something that I had to chase for myself, I had people that were there for me, like my girlfriend has been such a rock in my life of just, you know, saying like, oh, I found this clinic. Did you call them? Did you talk to them? But ultimately, you know, I was the one who had to pick up the phone and had to talk to them. You know, it was my journey, and it's something that I'm still, you know, pursuing. You know, right now I'm at the point where I just started to save up for top surgery. I've been looking at different doctors in my area that you know are within driving distance, or you know, at least not that long of a flight where I can just kind of, you know, I won't be spending my savings money on the trip. I need to be saving that money for surgery. And it's you know, it's a long journey, you know, as with finances, there's always setbacks. You're saving up for this and then that happens and you're like, well, maybe I'll just take out 50 from my savings and pay for that. And it's, you know, it's a transition, you know.
So Nate, I'm expecting that some of the people that watch this video will be parents. Any word of advice you'd like to give, or anything you'd like to say to parents who have a gender nonconforming or transgender child?
The best thing that you can do is educate yourself. That's your first, second, and third commandment. You know, my dad, when I came out to him, he had no idea what transgender was. That was the first thing he said. I said, Dad, I'm going to therapy because I'm transgender. He said, I don't know what that is. Tell me about it. And when I started to educate him and, you know, show him little things online, show him little videos, show him and he was starting to say, oh, okay, so that's how this is going to happen, and that's, you know, this is what I can expect. It takes so much anxiety away from you. It's, you know, when somebody tells you, especially if it's your child, you know, like I'm transgender, and you're thinking of how you've seen things on the news and how you've seen things in movies, and you're freaking out like, oh my God, my kid's going to get surgery, my kid's going to do this, my kid's going to do that, and you're like, you know, it really, it seems like such a big thing to tackle. But once you start to, you know, just objectively look at things and just say, okay, well, you know, what does this mean, and how does that work, and what can I expect from here? It makes your life so much easier, and, you know, look at it together. You know, this is a transition that the two of you are going to go through, or however many, you know, parents or children in such and such family are going to go through. It can't be one person's journey. You know, you have to actively participate in your child's life, whether they're out of the house or whether they're, you know, not even in high school yet. You know, it's something that you have to realize that I am a parent. I have a duty to fulfill. And it's something that you should want to experience. You know, my dad and I have never had as close of a relationship as we do right now, because, you know, and he asked me, do you think we've gotten closer since you came out to me? And I said, Dad, you have to understand something. You were having a relationship with a person that wasn't real. That person didn't exist. I was playing a part. And now you are having a relationship with the real me.
Thanks for watching the video. We hope you found the information in here helpful. If you have any further questions or you need any further assistance, we would ask you to look below the video if you're watching it on YouTube in the description, and you can find a link to our trans resource guide on our website. If you're actually watching the video on the website, please click the resource section at the top header and you can find the trans resource guide there. These resources are for people in the New York metropolitan area, so if you're around, if you're in Jersey, New York City, the information there will be helpful. If not, Marge has got some answers for you.
So if you're not in the New York City area, it might be a little more difficult. If you're near a big city, you can look for a gay and lesbian center, because either a gay and lesbian support service center or a gay and lesbian health center, because those places usually have services for trans and gender nonconforming youth, or at least they have the information. If you are a parent, look for a PFLAG chapter near you. PFLAG is Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gay Men, but that's how they started. But in fact, they include parents and friends of transgender people, gender nonconforming youth, and they will be helpful to you as a parent, and they also may have resources for your child.
The point is that there are people out there who do want to help you, whether you're a trans individual, whether you're the parent of a trans individual, a friend, there are resources out there.
And look for them, and we hope you like the video. Thanks very much.
Thanks.